Hello and welcome to Faultlines. I'm your host Shahzad Raza. Today the world celebrates or observes World Water Day. Today we are faced with multiple challenges and every challenge poses a serious threat to ourselves, to Pakistan's economy, to Pakistan's society, and if these threats are not taken seriously or dealt with appropriately, they can become a fatal challenges for us. And what are these threats? The threats include the water shortage. We are facing water shortage every passing year. And number two, and maybe the foremost, is the climate change. And the water shortage is one of the main reasons of the water shortage is the climate change in Pakistan. We have more rains, we have droughts. We have floods. We have less rains, we have droughts. So this kind of situation in which we are living in, that we are living really on the edge. How can we deal with these kind of challenges, and especially the climate change? We are not contributing to make the world more polluted, but we are the country which are facing the brunt, and one of the most vulnerable countries in the world, as it was declared that Pakistan has become at the moment. So these are some of the key questions which I'm going to ask in this program, and especially these challenges, how they are going to hit our economy. And in the studio, I'm joining by Ahmad Durrani. He is a senior economist. Thank you so much, Ahmad Durrani sir, for joining us. We have with us Dr. Aima. She's joining us from London. Thank you so much, Dr. Aima, as well. And Dr. Usman Chauhan, he's with us. He's another senior economist. Thank you so much. But before I talk to our eminent guest in the studio, and which are joining us on the video link, we have with us former federal minister and Senator Rehman. Thank you so much, Senator Rehman, for joining us. I read your statement today in which you talk about the kind of situation Pakistan is facing at the moment, the water shortage, and but why are we facing these kind of questions? I mean, we are living in the age of artificial intelligence. I mean, why we cannot overcome these challenges, despite the fact that we know what the challenge is, we know how to deal with the challenge, but still, after so many years, we are still asking the same question. Senator Rehman.
Yes, well, thank you for asking the question, but I'm not aware that Pakistan has been asking these questions for I don't know how long. I mean, you're making it sound like we've had television show after television show on water scarcity, on climate change, on forest cover. No, we haven't. What goes on Pakistan's media is quite the opposite. So it is a rare and important and timely occurrence that you're bringing this up. No, Pakistan has not been asking this question. Only some of us have been asking this question. It is high time Pakistan asked this question, put it on the top of the national priority agenda, and actually started thinking about doing something. And you suddenly said there's AI is I mean, AI is very far from as a solution at this point from the kind of mass scale of existential actions and restructuring that are needed for Pakistan to be able to face the next century or even this century or this decade with the level of resilience needed in a very accelerated timeline of global warming, which, as you rightly said, is not something that Pakistan has triggered in terms of, being a negligible footprint, carbon footprint country. So while we say all that, we're talking about water principally, which I had 5 years ago identified as the first and frontline problem for climate stress in Pakistan. Water and food security, agricultural economy, that's going to impact us strongly, which it already is, not 2020, but not just sort of certainly a huge part of the problem and even the driver, but I think it's time for us to understand that our per capita consumption per head is one of the largest in the world. I mean, we're in the third or fourth highest users of water per capita, that in itself should tell you that we see water as an infinite resource and are quite, I mean, we consume it, we overuse it, we extract our groundwater to the point where there's nothing left under the surface. There's nothing left much in the aquifers, specifically in Balochistan and Sindh.
Let me ask you a question here. I'm sorry to interrupt, but from 5,600 cubic meter till to 1,300 cubic meter, like per capita availability of water in Pakistan from 1947 till today, which we like right now. I mean, there are many factors involved in this, like population growth, the water level, and you can call several reasons. But my point is that what steps have we taken so far to deal with it? Like last time we checked, there was like two big reservoirs, Mangla Dam and Tarbela Dam. You think that is there a need for a big water reservoir to deal with this problem, or is there any alternate available?
These big dams had their time. There were consortium, interest and financing interest in those days, and that was at least 30 to 40 years ago. And we've also seen that, while Tarbela certainly has been a key driver of clean energy for a long time, and it's done its job, these dams are silted up. They're very hard to maintain now, and the future is nowhere in the world are big dams being built anymore. They are not the future. Only Pakistan is talking about big dams. I'm not aware of any other country that is. And if they are, then they're really back in the 20th century, early 20th century. It's over. The era of big dams is over. For Pakistan, there's no consortium money. I mean, I think everybody needs to wake up and smell the coffee. Big dams, big dams. Who has, first of all, the capital to build the big dams? I mean, there isn't any. Secondly, and there's no willingness. There's always an expectation that international development partners will come up with that kind of equity. They're not. Secondly, big dams silt up.
You're absolutely right. But what do you think that what is the best possible way forward?
They're very controversial now because they hold water down for lower riparians, and there's a serious crisis right now in the in at least Balochistan and Sindh, which are the tail enders on the river Indus. It's our only system. I mean, pay attention to the fact that there is a water distribution problem in the country. So first of all, there needs to be telemetry so that there's no conflict over water, and there isn't any telemetry system. I'm hearing that it's going to be installed. Well, I mean, until that is, I don't think there should be any more construction on the river Indus because the provinces have not agreed to that, and it impacts their livelihoods and their survival. So water is a matter of life and death. No more dams. There are run-of-the-river solutions. There is a huge a degree of expertise generated on and knowledge base generated on how rainwater can be and other kinds of water can be kept in small reservoirs for just saving water that would run off.
Is it because we have heard in the past that opposition of one particular big water reservoir by Pakistan People's Party. So the opposition is just for one particular water reservoir or any big water reservoir?
God, no. I mean, we're not living under a rock. Surely everyone has heard that there is a crisis in the delta. It is now the cracked earth that you see in pictures in desert areas. So the delta regions and the south of Pakistan is facing famine situations. It is facing desertification, and there's no sowing season this Rabi. This is the Rabi crop season. Sindh is now saying that you can't have any construction on drawing canals even on the river Indus because the IRSA, which is the management authority of water, every year for the last 10 years has been reporting a water deficit for Sindh and even Punjab. So I don't understand how there's even a conversation unless there's some magical new formula of creating water flows, and then people say, oh, it will be X share.
If Sindh is getting the due share of its water and Punjab is, giving water from its own share, then what's the problem? I mean, if Sindh is getting the full share of the water, I mean, I'm not going to politicize this issue, but just one last question. You've been very vocal about the climate change, and as I mentioned, and a lot of people mentioned in the past, including Prime Minister even, he has said this again and again, that Pakistan is one of the most vulnerable country in the world, but our share in polluting the world is negligible. So how can we deal with this kind of a situation when the polluters are very influential in the rich countries?
No, it's not pollution. Pollution is created entirely in within one's own country. You're talking about emissions. Those are very different things. Emission and pollution. I mean, please don't mix it up because it absolves the people who are supposed to take action from not doing so. So pollution is entirely local. It's in the solutions for pollution are entirely in our hands. There's a national clean air policy. Same goes for river pollution. Those are entirely in our hands. You're confusing it with emissions. Emissions comes from greenhouse gases, and it really is mostly related to fossil fuel emissions, and now it is to methane. But coming back to, I'm going to conclude by addressing something. Frankly, I mean, I think it's absurd to say that, oh, there's Punjab's share of water being given. I mean, the whole world knows that water is not a cake. You don't divide it up. It's not a solid body. It flows down the river. It flows throughout. And there is still no telemetry in Pakistan. How is this conversation even happening when there is no significant, accurate, and agreed upon measure? This has to go to the Council of Common Interest.
Of course, ma'am. Thank you so much, Senator Rehman, for your valuable time and staying with us and sharing your thoughts. Ahmad Durrani Saab, I asked this very particular question with the senator, that Pakistan is facing all these, the consequences of climate change and whatever the rich countries are doing. You call it a pollution or, the emission of the greenhouse gases, whatever you call it. I mean, we are not going into the technicalities, but how can we deal with this situation when the countries or the people who are involved in this crime, they are very rich, they are very influential, and some of them are our very close friends?
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show, first and foremost, and let me also be allowed to commend the senator. Senator Rehman has been rather lucid, much more than most senators that are currently there, and I think she has to be congratulated for being aware of things which really need to come out now. It's not a People's Party issue anymore, it's a cross-Pakistan, multi-party issue. As the citizens of Pakistan, we need to really think about it. Now, the premises which I think the senator has highlighted, and I think that is a good start to answering your question, how do we deal with this? I think the first way which the senator has actually alluded to, and I want to clarify further, is that currently we are per capita one of the largest polluters on earth. Okay, let that be known. Collectively, yes, because we are a very under-motorized society. Our total energy usage is much below per capita than the rest of the world. Let me clarify these numbers very carefully. Yeah, it's a very important thing to say.
When you call it that we are the largest polluters.
We are the largest polluter per capita.
Okay.
So as one person creating pollution, which means emissions.
What do we do it?
So how do we do it? Because we use a lot of fossil. If you basically divide total emissions in Pakistan by a population of 250 million and compare it across the world, yes, we are in the highest rank. But in terms of total pollution produced by us, we are definitely not even figure. We don't even figure. We are in the lowest, let's say.
How do we do it?
Hold on.
How do we do it?
How do we do what? Pollute or not pollute?
Pollute.
Okay, we pollute because of the way we use energy. Right? For example, we claim that 50% of our grid is on clean energy. No, it's not. And on an average running day, 70% of our energy, the grid factor, is actually fossil fuels. We are the maximum users. We burn, but just the crop burning alone produces a lot of emissions. I mean, I don't want to bore, but let's get to the facts. What I'm stated, please check. The facts are absolutely correct. Secondly, yes, we are, when we look at the global economy, we are also adjacent to two of the largest net polluters of the world, that being China. There is nothing that is polluting near us more the atmosphere punching a hole than China. Okay? Then we are next to India, again a very large polluter. But what I want to stress is, given our energy use, given our transportation, given our use,
just one thing to add, that you must remember that these two countries you just mentioned, these are the developing countries, not the developed countries.
No, hold on. So we are also a developing country.
Of course.
We are an LMIC. They're also a little bit ahead of us. I mean, we are currently hovering at 2, they're at 25, China at around 34, right? So the issue is, now let's come to the other side of the equation. The other side of the equation is the water, right? So climate change, huge impact on water. Again, I think it has to be considered, and we need to be very careful. Are we in the top 10 frugal users of water? No. We are in the top 10 most water using per capita country in the world. So this, let me then start with the solution. The solution. You asked for a solution.
The solution part would come later. But let me add here, Dr. Aima. Dr. Aima, can you hear me? Thank you so much for joining. Dr. Aima, the question is, you sitting in London, you know, the developed countries and, you know, the so-called champion or forebearer of democracy, but the developed countries like the United Kingdom or the United States of America, or you name any other country, they have done their part. I mean, they polluted the world like hundreds or 200s or maybe more years ago. But now, when they all of a sudden woke up to the reality that we are living in the world that would no longer be, you know, we would be there and would cease to exist if we don't change our habits, our policies. They started lecturing the countries like Pakistan and all other countries, the third world or the developing countries. But their entire development, the so-called industrialization, based on the pollution or the polluting the world, the entire world. What do you think, that how can they justify it, and still when there is a climate challenge, they are not ready to help the countries like Pakistan? Why this double standard or this hypocrisy? Can you define this? Can you explain this?
Thank you for such an interesting question. Well, the first thing is, why Pakistan has such a huge climate issue and the greenhouse issue is not just the responsibility of other countries that have developed and why they are so ahead of the other countries. The issue with Pakistan is that, you know, Pakistan lacks its own policies. I'll just begin by one thing. You know, like UK right now is undergoing a very strong governmental action of net 2050 and net 2035. So what does that mean? It means that the net emissions in UK are going to be zero by year 2035, and by 2050, all the fossil fuels usage of such cars is going to be completely out of the equation. And they are spending a lot of money in doing this. And it is taking a lot of think tanks, policymakers to achieve this. They're not crying or sad or arguing or putting the blame on other countries. They're making a very, very conscious and collective action. And so are the other EU countries. And EU and UK are one of the biggest players towards a whole global fund that's helping towards a cleaner and a safer world, and which is why we have the COP annual conferences. And Pakistani officials, when they go to the COP meetings, they can't put forward their agenda in a clean and a very systematic way. They don't have any plan, which is why they are unable to secure the funds. I'm sorry, if you don't have a plan, that is...
Dr. Ahmad, one question. Sorry to interrupt, one question. But what my argument was that the countries like United Kingdom, they've been polluting the world for the last, so many centuries, if not exaggerating. But now they all of a sudden started lecturing the countries like Pakistan, which haven't even seen 1 century of their lifetime? I mean, how can it be possible to, ask the country like Pakistan to, go for
Just
such strict measures, to take such impossible steps of the, to stop the climate change or to save the planet or the people, when you've been doing for this for the last almost 800 or 900 years?
let me answer you, and this time, please don't interrupt me. The thing is, they're not lecturing Pakistan. They're just opening everyone's eye towards the ozone gaps we have, and one of the biggest ozone gap is around the and above the Asian countries. Countries like China and India, they've taken the privilege of producing. It was the responsibility of the government of Pakistan and the premiership of Pakistan to have policies in place. It's your own, if it's your own house, it's your responsibility to save it. It's not somebody else's responsibility to save it. The issue with Pakistan and the water issue with Pakistan has arisen because of the water Indus Water Treaty, which was cut at the time of independence. After that, we haven't been able to negotiate it. And if it wasn't to the Hague, we wouldn't have had the water, because India wants to cut away our water. India is trying to say it's a very big population, etc. The issue with Pakistan, which are the real issues, and if we are honest to our country, we need to address these issues. We can't blame UK or US or China. We need to put our house in order. And what's the issue with our house? The issue with our house is we are the world's 5th largest population. And we are the world's 15th most scarcest water resources in the world. Does that match? It doesn't match. By 2035, we won't even have like 500 liters of water per person. That's the speed of population growth in Pakistan. Why aren't we controlling our population? Why aren't we building our dam? If we can't build our dams, I mean, I agree to whatever Senator Rehman said, but how are we going to store our water? We have the Indian Ocean. Why don't we have plants where we are clean our water, we clean the siltation, we clean all salts, and we use that water? The second thing is, UK is a small, tiny country, and they don't have a lot of dams. How do they reuse and ensure that the people have water? They have a water sewage cleaning system. All the water that we use in the houses, it goes into sewage cleaning system. They have huge facilities where sewage water is clean, reused, and they even use the recycled water. And water is recycled 7 times before it is let back into the sea. Do we have those sophisticated systems in Pakistan? No. We've been going to World Bank for years and years, and we've been taking loan and extended facilities. Have we been using those facilities and those loans constructively?
Dr. Aima, please listen to me, and with due respect, you are comparing UK with Pakistan, but just let me know that where exactly UK located and Pakistan located in terms of the society, the institution wise, or the economy and the history and the years of independence. What I'm going to ask you, or I asked you already, is the countries like United Kingdom or China, as Ahmad Durrani mentioned, or the United States of America, they are basically the big culprits, which are making this world almost unable to live in. But the countries like Pakistan, and we had almost no share in making this world a dirty or polluted place. So why should we share the blame? We are the people or the country's victim here. This is the point I'm going to raise here before you.
Yes, that's right. And if you take the meeting briefings from COP, I've been taking and reading those since last 5 years. Nobody has blamed Pakistan for creating a huge carbon footprint. Every country agrees that Pakistan is a victim to the emissions from other countries, and they're trying to help Pakistan. Even World Bank has a 10 billion facility for Pakistan, and they're asking Pakistan, what plans do you have? They can only give you the funds, and you have to use the funds yourself. They're asking Pakistan about how you're going to use funds, and we don't have a plan, executable plan.
I'll get back to you on this, but Ahmed Durrani Sahab, Dr. Aima just mentioned that World Bank was very eager to support Pakistan and asked Pakistan, in fact, that how much funding you need, or what exactly what we can do for you. But before I ask you this question, we have Dr. Usman Chauhan, another leading economist in Pakistan. Thank you, Dr. Saab, for joining us in the show. What we are discussing here is the problem Pakistan and the countries like Pakistan facing because of the water shortage and the climate change, and how it's going to hit the economy. So my question to you is that what repercussion exactly the economy would face when we have the water shortage at one hand and the fast climate change on the other. Less rain, drought; more rain, flood. Dr. Saab.
Yes, thank you very much for having me on your show, and greetings to all the panelists. It is very important to realize that water is a key ingredient in all sectors of the economy. Certainly, agriculture has basically transformed water. Your cotton and your rice is just basically reorganized water. But even if you go further up in terms of complexity, the manufacturing sector certainly requires water in many different things, whether it's bottling, soft drinks, whether it is in, T-shirts and other apparel. So many sectors at the manufacturing level, and that's also true for various types of services. So water can be seen as a multi-sectoral commodity in terms of economic value. If you don't have enough water to cover these, aside from the very essence of life itself being carbon-based life being water, there is severe damage, and various elements and various attempts to model it out suggest that it would be basically not really sensible to think of the economy without having adequate water, and that's why a priority for countries is to have enough water supplies to promote economic growth and development. Right?
Go ahead, finish your sentence, sir. We lost.
As long as we have adequate water, we can think about economic development in a serious manner. In the absence of water, all sectors of the economy get impacted. So it's really a difficult conversation to envisage economic growth without adequate water.
Durrani Saab, what the countries like, or not, I'm not going to mention a very specific country, but the rich countries or the developed countries offered Pakistan exactly to deal with the problem they created, not us?
Well, I mean, let me first clarify a few things that Aima said and answer your question simultaneously, right? So one of the things Aima said about industry was negotiated in the 60s. Before the industry was negotiated, and after post facto, it was not negotiated independence, by the way. So the industry, again, Canada, World Bank, everybody played a huge part in it. Secondly, we have to understand that when it was negotiated, it was the best deal we could get as a low riparian. And whether you look at Uruguay, you look at the Nile, and the world is full and replete. Look at Waksh and Amu Darya and Oxus. I mean, everybody is fighting a water war, right? Now, basically, there has been predictions around water being the cause of World War III, and other things. This is all hearsay. Let me be very clear about it. The reason I say that, please let me, sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
I just want to finish.
Yeah.
It's been a long after day, Rosa today. Basically, the other thing which I want to correct is Pakistan has presented a pretty solid case at each COP. The fact is that the people presenting them may have been rather lackluster, which I agree with Aima, but I think the NDCs, our last nationally determined conditions, are 2021-22. I personally know the gentleman who wrote it is actually not a bad document. Now we come to point number 3, which is playing the blame game. Now let's be very clear, the world is an unfair place, okay? We know that from our faith, we know that from the daily life, we know that from society as it exists today. We also understand that the 21st century consensus has yet not been written. What was written is in the 20th century, again quoting back. So is the Indus Cascade, by the way. So I fundamentally disagree with the fact that taking measures from the 20th century and saying that we are a water scarce country. Now, please understand that John Briscoe and Usman Kamar, they're both very esteemed colleagues of mine, former colleagues from the World Bank, who wrote Pakistan An Economy Running Dry, which, if you remember, Pervez Musharraf bandied in 2002 on TV, showing that we need to do this, to do that. Now, fundamentally, I think the two areas which we are not hitting hard is the per capita consumption of water, how to lessen it. Some very simple things, and you're going to laugh about this. Just flushing our feces down the toilet if we reduce by a liter. No, let me finish this.
Okay.
Okay. Looking at how we water our crops, right? Number 2. Number 3, just looking at, I'll give you one example. Washing cars. There is a huge project going on in Africa as I speak today. I was sitting in Laos just last month, and there are people like the NGOs, rather than beating the bucket and collecting zakat, they're actually collecting examples of how to save water when washing cars, and the amount in liters is just exorbitant, right? So first and foremost, you need to fix that, how we consume water, how we use it to irrigate, to wash our surroundings, etc. Then let's talk about water scarcity. And last point there, for econ growth, which Usman very rightly said, I love the idea of the fact that basically the oceans are rising. So why don't we desalinate all over? We have a 600-kilometer coast along Balochistan. We have a very lovely coastline.
Okay, one point, that average water consumption by one person according to the world standard is slightly over 200 liters a day.
But look at the stats. We are in the top 5 worst consumers per capita in the world. Please get that stat through the heads. We are 240 countries or something going there at that rate. We are in the top 5. Even if you don't believe me, let's call top 10. On one hand, can you believe us talking about, oh, we don't consume water? Oh, come on, guys.
We do, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not low. So first, let's correct our house. You know, the problem with Pakistan is this blame game.
No, but
everybody needs to pay. Nobody's paying. World Bank is not going to give you free money. The
one issue in here that of course that the average per capita use of water is slightly over 200 liter according to the world standard, but not every citizen in Pakistan has access to that amount of water.
Can you imagine? Even then it is so high?
Or only in the,
do you believe that?
Only in the urban areas or in the posh area where you are living, not in the suburbs or periphery,
areas where you're flooding your crops is also part of that.
Not in the periphery, sir.
No, it's in the peripheries. Have you come and done cropping in Pakistan? They just flood the damn crops. I mean, so you can't.
Okay, we need to change our habits and
Shahzad, it's not a question of if.
Of course.
For us, it's a question of must.
We must. Dr. Aima, you want to say something?
The first thing is that the report that I am quoting is from 2024, and it is from the Displacement Tracking Index from UN Migration, and it's called Flooded Yet Thirsty. So it's not from the 20th century. It's quite a recent stats. The other thing is that I want to say is there is a huge problem with how we meter water in Pakistan. We should have had water meters years and years ago, which we didn't have. And how we do water metering here, because I am in the sector, is that you meet up people for the water they use, and you also have sewage charges which then cater for all the infrastructure, cleaning water, using sewage water and recycling it 7 times and then giving it to people, and also how to use the seawater desalinated. The other issue that I really want to mention here is building more storage units. And one of the biggest problems that has caused water issues in Pakistan, above pollution that has come from other countries, is all these housing societies. You know how much deforestation we've done, and you know how much cement construction has caused us in terms of water and litters. It has been more deliberate than the pollution caused by other countries. And the last point that I want to say is, even though China has had a lot of emissions that has affected Pakistan, but China has the biggest water reservoir, biggest dam in the world, and it has displaced Earth from its axis, and it has also reduced our day length from 24 hours to something less in milliseconds. So they have worked themselves very, very nicely. And one of the reasons why China has grown so much economically is because it has been giving free electricity to all its industrial zones produced by that water reservoir. So the blame game doesn't work in this century. And just to reiterate what Amir said, you can have a very nice plan, but if you don't put it up in a very nice and an executable way, and you can't convince others, it's very hard for anything to work. So you can have a very bad plan, but people can put it up in a very nice way.
And that you need to be mindful of all these factors, and keep the environment clean while you are economically growing. Of course, you are absolutely right. But Dr. Usman Chauhan, if you study history and you study the industrialization in Europe or in the United States of America, those people, they were really not mindful of the fact that those steps they were taking at that point in time were going to hit the environment, the climate, or they are going to defile the face of the earth. I mean, they were just very much focused and concerned about the economic development, earning money. Now, when they have grown, they are developed at the moment, and they are very rich. Now they are lecturing the countries like Pakistan. Whatever they were doing, they have done in the past, and now we are here to face the blame, or we are here to face the brunt of their crimes they committed in the past.
Yes, interestingly, both sides of the debate that I have heard this evening are correct. That the Western powers did extract the entire flesh of the earth to industrialize in an unsustainable manner. That is absolutely true. They gutted the earth, they mined it dry, and they now want everybody else to behave well so that we don't catch up in terms of GDP growth. And you can see an opposite view also coming out of Trump, where he says, you know what, we'll just use our own lumber. So that your part is correct. At the same time, what the other panelists are saying is also true, that the conservation efforts here are very, very weak, and I'll give you two examples. The first is when you watch people washing their cars here, it is really, really atrocious how water is wasted just so they can make their car look better. The second is that we used to have a lot of gas once upon a time, and people, rather than shutting off the gas rails, would just leave it on because it was cheaper to run the gas than to, light another match. This sense of environmental consideration here is also incorrect. So I actually agree with everybody on the panel today.
All right, Ahmad Saab, I mean, anytime, whenever you are thinking about all those challenges the country is facing, do you think that it's better that people should go back and start living in the stone age or the glacial age? So not these complex question of conserving water, saving electricity, or not switching on two bulbs or tube lights instead of one should arise at the first place?
No, actually, that's not what anybody is saying. We are all saying that, look, one of the things we forget to mention, every time we mention about over-extraction, everything, the way to develop, the way to transport, the way to do agriculture in the 19th century and 20th century, we're talking about the post-Luddite revolution. Let's talk about, middle of the 19th century till, let's say, the height of, the growth of the US, which is the 60s, 1960s. So if we look at that, and even at China, massively exploiting coal, massively creating reservoirs.
But their progress based on the degradation of the entire climate.
You're not letting me make my point. So
of course,
either I make my point or I don't make my point. So my first point that I need to be very clear on is that, but the means of production then were inefficient. Today we have much more efficient means of production. When I was born, to get 40 equivalent watts, lumens produced were X. Today, for 1 watt, we can produce more lumens by an exponential number of times. So in other words, more light for an iota of the energy that my mother had to spend when she was, getting me to study forcefully, right? So I'm talking that today the means of production are a gazillion times more efficient. So therefore, we don't need to over-extract. Okay, let's get that through our heads. So this is no argument at all in my mind to sit and to say they polluted. Now it's our turn to pollute by using. No, let me finish. You never let me finish my argument. I'll shut up.
I always do.
So the point here being that, number one, this blame game ain't going to get us nowhere, right? Because all countries are now getting back to, as we call, reshoring, right? You've seen the Trumpian era. I'm not being facetious. So we are always going to be regional. We are always going to be local.
All right.
So please let us think of a future where we balance the use of resources
can I make
and
my
still
point?
Increase my GDP.
All right. Can I make my point now?
Please.
I'm not saying that what they have done in the past, it gives us the justification to do exactly what they have done in the past. What I'm saying is that you've done your part in a very bad way, but please don't lecture us how to go about it, how to conduct ourselves. We know, as you mentioned, and we have the people like you to understand the situation and tell us and guide us how to save this country or the world.
May I just actually
I'm
posit
just
one example before you
I'm
take
just,
the debate?
I'm just asking them not to lecture us.
No, but let me ask this. When a person converts, so I'm going to take you back to, let's say, forget Islam, let's go to Jesus Christ, right? So when Jesus came, a lot of the converts were people who were the baddest sinners or the worst sinners, right? They then lectured the world, right? Because they had learned. So what's wrong with the people who have learned lecturing the world? Please keep the simile in mind. Answer that.
All right, so you think that they have all the right to lecture
No,
us?
it's not a question of
because
lecturing.
their entire development, their entire progress based on polluting this entire planet.
If you blame somebody and ask for
I'm
money
not blaming
versus,
them.
we've spent the entire show talking about blaming. Now
Why?
my question to you
Because they are blaming us. Today is the world.
But it is only because
Today is the World Water Day.
No. If they had not done that, would we today have a bulb, example I gave, which was so advanced that it would give you so many thousands of lumens for just a watt of energy? But the answer is no. So while they have polluted, they've also created science. They've also created the miracles by which we can clean the world today. So I'm not defending them. Please understand that. Okay. All I'm saying is we need to jump on a different bandwagon and take advantage of that paradigm shift rather than going through
so
the
all their wrongdoing, all their whatever their deeds were in the past. So they got all the development, and all we got are the lectures. All we got are the lectures.
We can use their
all we got are the
now.
Lectures. I'm asking you.
As you want to see it. As you want to see it.
So you call it an experience, I call it a lecture. Dr. Aima, your take on this, that the entire Western world lecturing us to conserve water, be very mindful of the climate change, no fossil fuel. But what they have done to this planet in the past is basically, the entire progress of them based on the polluting the planet. But now they have all of a sudden woken up to the reality and starting lecturing the countries like Pakistan. Do you think it's justified? It's morally justified? Is it appropriate or no?
What I'm trying to say is you don't always have to learn from your own mistakes. You can also learn from other people's mistakes. What they're trying to say is that they're trying to collectively save the entire world, and they're trying to tell Pakistan that you for sure are in a very critical position, because Pakistan has the world's 5th largest population. They've been trying to help us with that, but there's no result coming out, and by 2035 we'll have very scarce water. Okay, so they are trying to put a spotlight on us, and they're trying to tell us put your house correct, and I'll reiterate the fact that you don't have to always learn from your own mistakes. And if Pakistan wanted to, Pakistanis do want to grow economically. It would be wrong to say they don't want to, but the issue here is other countries grew economically. They had their industries, etc. Our industries have been going down year on year. Our cotton exports have been going down year on year. We stopped rice to a certain extent, and we started having sugarcane, which is again not helping our water tables. Our water tables have gone down seriously. We are an arid or semi-arid country. You know what is a semi-arid country? The precipitation rate is really low, and we only depend on rainwater, and we don't have enough storage. So they're trying to highlight all these issues, and instead of taking it negatively, let me finish. Let me finish. So instead of taking it negatively, take it positively. Take it positively, and it's going to help you. Blaming and taking it negatively is not going to help. That's all.
All right. Dr. Usman Chauhan, any last thought on this, and specifically about the Western hypocrisy on the issues like climate change and conserving water? What they have done in the past, I'm not going to mention it again.
I once again do agree with both you and Amir Saab, because it is very annoying to hear these Western liberal NGO types come here and try to lecture us, given their blemished past, and sometimes they give very counterproductive recommendations under the auspices of eco-friendly. That's why Sri Lanka's economy fell apart in 2022. But at the same time, Amir Saab is highlighting a very important thing, which is that now, for example, the Chinese model is a very enlightened approach where the current energy utilization and an eco-sustainability path does not involve the same amount of ecological plundering that it once did. So we actually don't have to follow directly the same crude manner of industrial development, at least not with the same carbon footprint that was once required.
Dr. Chauhan, any last thought, positive?
No, definitely. All I can say is may Allah grant you the will and the learning for our next program.
All right, thank you so much, Ahmad Durrani Saab, for sparing time for us, and thank you so much, Dr. Aima, Dr. Usman Chauhan, and thank you so much, viewers, for watching the show. And let me, conclude this show on a positive note that we have challenges, but these are the serious challenges. But at the same time, that we have faced many serious challenges in the past, and I'm sure that with the experience of the people like Durrani Saab, Dr. Aima, Dr. Usman Chauhan, and the people who are at the helms of here, we will overcome these challenges, but the will is required. Thank you so much for watching the program. Good night and Khuda Hafiz.